What's going on, everybody? It's your man Louie T here on another installment of the LouieTeeNetwork podcast. Number of topics to get to today. Davante Adams is asked for a trade. Wow, what a surprise. The New York Jets look like a dumpster fire, and I'm here to tell you why it isn't just yet. We're going to go Slate Skatin week 4 in the National Football League. A lot of compelling storylines. We're going to go check on those youngins. Those 3 rookies all got wins in week 4. Hey, how about that? First time this season that all 3 of them have won in the same week. Will this be a trend that continues? We'll see. But we'll talk about their performances and what they were able to get done in week 4 and all the other games that took place. Man, it pays to have a quality backup quarterback in the National Football League. We'll get to all of that and then some here on the Louie T Network podcast that starts now. The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description. Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the 454th. That tongue got a little thick in the way there. Let me try that one again. The 454th. There we go. Installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I am, of course, your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Man, what a week it was in the National Football League. Lots of compelling storylines are beginning to develop, and we'll dive into a number of them. Obviously, Davante Adams and his trade request yesterday is dominating the headlines, and rightfully so. Generally, you don't get juicy storylines like that. That's an off-season storyline, somebody demanding a trade. Once you get in the season, football dominates the conversation. What's happening on the field usually is front and center, and things happening off the field take a backseat to the on-the-field action, which is why we love the season itself, because you normally off-the-field storylines, while compelling, they don't move the needle as much as the actual games itself. But this man wants out of Vegas, and who didn't see this coming? The minute Derek Carr was essentially shipped out of there, he was going to want out, because one of the only reasons he came to Vegas in the first place was to play with Derek Carr. Didn't help. It didn't hurt that they made him the highest paid wide receiver in football, but he was coming there to reunite with his best friend, Derek Carr. So we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later on in the show. But man, I was talking to my wife, and shout out to Miss P, because I was talking to her about that as well. My wife and I were like, man, I can't wait for September to be over. September was just brutal in terms of, deaths, celebrity deaths, and people that we hold in high regard and that we respect, that were, tremendous in their craft, passed away. And it was just one after the other. Boom, 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 boom. It was no break. We kept talking about they come in threes. They were coming in like 6-packs in September. It was ridiculous. And just when we thought it was safe, September went out with a bang. Took down a couple more people that we really respected. And then we said, phew, glad it's over. And then we get to October, and it hasn't let up. So so many people have passed away. I need to start writing down these names because I forget. But let me see if I can kind of recall some of the people that we've lost here over the last week since I've talked to you. I mean, it's been crazy. So most recently, I think we just lost John Amos, who legendary actor. just about similar to James Earl Jones, just about anything you can think of, he's been in it. He's been a part of it. Some of the best theater, he's been a part of it. Whether it's Good Times, Roots, Coming to America, he was one of those guys that he just was one of the best at what he did. And we lost him. Pete Rose, who I always advocated to be a member of the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. Yeah, he bet on baseball. Okay, I get it. You slapped him on the wrist. It was reprehensible at the time. We live in an environment where betting is everywhere, and you're still trying to ban this man for betting on baseball. Get over yourself. He was one of the greatest Major League Baseball players to ever put on a pair of cleats. And I really, truly wanted this man to get a cold one before he passed away. Like somewhere deep down inside, they were going to realize that, okay, he's been punished enough. Please let this man in the Hall of Fame before he dies. And they just didn't see fit to make that happen. And my heart aches for Pete Rose. It does, because that man has done everything. He's been as contrite as one can be, knowing that he made a massive mistake. Yes, he made a massive mistake. You can't do what he did. But the man is the greatest baseball player, one of the greatest baseball players who has ever played the game. There are so many statistical records that this man owns that will never be broken. And he's not in the Hall of Fame. He didn't cheat. This isn't Barry Bonds or Roger Clemens or, someone that used steroids, Jose Canseco. He didn't cheat. He didn't cheat the game. He bet on it. He passed away, and that was sad for me personally. Let's see. Who else did we lose? There was someone else. We lost Tito Jackson. Lost Tito Jackson, man. I was reading something when he passed away, where he spoke about how people perceived him really hurt him. And it hurt me to know that how people perceived him hurt him. Like he was irrelevant in the Jackson 5, because every time you made a joke about the Jackson 5 or, don't want to be like this member of the Jackson 5, you would always bring up Tito. Or you were trying to spite somebody, you would spite Tito, right? Like, give you a quick Jay-Z line. This is a quick, easy example. He said, your boy is off the wall. So he said, I'm like a young Mike Jack. I'm off the wall. These other brothers is Tito. Like almost being like it's some kind of derogatory, thing to be Tito Jackson, like minimizing his impact on the Jackson 5. That hurt him. That hurt him. And that hurt me to know that hurt him. But we lost another Jackson. And that too sucks. So that was another person that we lost. I think we lost one more person. Oof. Feel like there was one more really major loss. Can't think of it. It's escaping my mind right now. What I'm gonna need to start doing here. Oh, that's who it was. Dikembe Mutombo. That's the one. That's the one. Dikembe Mutombo. I didn't even know he had brain cancer. Didn't even know he had cancer. And from what it sounds like it happened very rapidly. I felt like I was just seeing this man on the Geico commercial, smacking stuff out of people's hands and wagging that finger. and he was such a gentle soul. And I've never heard anybody speak ill will of Dikembe Mutombo, not one time ever. And I read the post that his son put out, and it was heartwarming. And I was just like, man, so many of the people I grew up watching and being in awe of gone. And he's another one. I remember that 1994 first round series when the first round was best of 5. The first time an 8 seed beat a 1 seed. Denver Nuggets go into Seattle. That was the Sean Kemp and Gary Payton Seattle Supersonics. They went in there and they beat them in a best of 5 series. And I just remember, and I can't get that image out of my head. As long as I live, I will always remember this series. I was a massive basketball fan growing up. I was a massive sports fan growing up. And I just remember Dikembe grabbing that basketball as he got that final rebound to end the game, falling on the ground, holding the ball up like this as he's laying on his back, crying in joy that they just upset the Seattle Supersonics. It was such a big deal in that moment because no 8 seed had beaten a 1 seed up until that point. It was unheard of. You didn't do that in the NBA. 8 seeds didn't beat 1 seeds. And it was that series and others that would come later on that would force the NBA to say, you know what, 5-game series in the first round isn't enough games because you're giving the advantage. And I don't really find that to be true, but you're giving an advantage to a lower seeded team if they don't have to win as many games. Because as we all know, the longer the series, the more it favors the better team. The shorter the series, which is why the NFL is so unpredictable, because you don't have to be the better team to win a game. You have to be the better team to win a series of games. But you don't have to be the better team to win a game. Just be the better team that day. And so in a 5-game series, you catch somebody slipping, they have an off night. All of a sudden, you steal one. Now all you got to do is win your 2 home games. Sounds easy in theory, but it's not, because they had to go to Seattle in game 5 and win the series, and they did. And I just remember Dikembe Mutombo holding that basketball, laying on his back in disbelief. And I will never forget that moment. And I just remember all of the different, finger wagging sessions. I remember a conversation him and Jordan had in the pink room of the All-Star game when Jordan was talking about dunking on him. And can't believe Dikembe Mutombo is gone at 58, man. Such a young age. It's just crazy, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. So, yeah, man, it's wild. It's wild, and I'm at a loss. I truly am, but we forge forward. Oh, yes. Thank you, Miss P. Mercury Morris passed away. And I hadn't had a chance to talk about that either. My favorite of the 72 Dolphins has always been Mercury Morris. When they would pop the champagne every year when the last undefeated team in the NFL would lose, they would always go to Mercury Morris. And I used to love Mercury because even when teams would get close, like the 91 Redskins or the 2007 Patriots or the 2015 Panthers, he would always say, he said he wouldn't even address a lot of teams. You get to 8, 9, 10 wins, whatever. He said, I'm not even going to talk to them. Wait till they get to my neighborhood. You're not even in my neighborhood yet. And if you get in the neighborhood, come to my doorstep. Till then, I got nothing to say. And I know they were sweating bullets when the Patriots got all the way to the Super Bowl because it looked inevitable. And he was always, to me, the poster child of that 72 Dolphins team because they wore that as a badge of honor. Only team to ever be undefeated, which I get. Loved Mercury Morris, man, and he passed away I think over the weekend as well. So it's just been crazy, man. Just ridiculous. Wow. Anyway, I digress. Let's go ahead and get to the Gem Droppin Session, shall we? I think we shall. Let me drop this gem on your melon. Open your mind, let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louie T double E. Let me open you up, get you thinking a little bit. So, as we customarily do on the first podcast of the week, I want to talk about the youngins, the 3 rookie quarterbacks that are currently starting in the National Football League as we keep track of their progress throughout the season. Chicago drafted Caleb Williams number 1 overall. He started all 4 of their games this season. They won the first game of the season. They've lost 2 in a row. They were finally able to snap that skid, get back to the right hand or the left hand column. They've won 2 games at home, 2 games on the road. They've lost this season. They took care of the Los Angeles Rams 24-18. Caleb Williams continues to be somewhat inconsistent, but he made enough plays. And the biggest thing here is he did not turn the football over. I can't stress that enough. For who the Bears are right now and how they operate, his number 1 job every week should be take care of the football. We'll figure out everything after that. But with the way they play defense, with how they can play special teams, they've got the best punter in football, I'm convinced. This Torrey Taylor kid that they spent a 4th-round pick on, he looks like the new cheat code as a punter. It's ridiculous how he can control the football, where it goes, backspin, all of that. Well worth, and I'm not a big fan of a special teams player being drafted before the 5th round. You already know you're breaking a rule. He looks like one of those exception to the rule, right? Not many of them. Sebastian Janikowski was an exception to the rule. Not many of those where I co-sign and say, you know what? You get a pass on this one. Don't do the shit again, but you get a pass on this one. He looks like he's going to be one of those guys. Hey, you get a pass on this one. Don't worry about it. Anyway, Caleb Williams in this game, 17 of 23 for 157 yards. So not earth-shattering numbers. Those don't jump out and bite you, right? They don't stick out like a sore thumb. However, 1 touchdown, no interceptions does stick out like a sore thumb, okay? He found the end zone, and he didn't turn the ball over. That's the highest completion percentage he's had this season. And for all the people talking about this, that, and the third, a lot of these were underneath completions. As you can see, he only had 157 yards, okay? So he was only sacked 3 times, and while 3 is still a pretty significant number for what he had been doing this season, that's a pretty good number for him. He was only hit in this game 3 times, and those were the 3 sacks. So by and large, this was one of the cleaner games he's had as a pro, right? And part of the reason I feel like this was a good game for him is because of what they were able to do around him. I thought they got the ball out of his hands quickly. He made smart decisions with the football. He didn't mind checking it down. He got it to open receivers. He's still missing some of the shots down the field. He's still missing in the intermediate, but they ran the football. Like, he has not had good complementary offensive play calling, and the run game hasn't been there. The offensive line hasn't helped him out. It just hasn't been fluid offensively, and I don't think they've done enough to put him in positions to succeed. It felt like instead of them spoon feeding him, like, hey, let's give you some baby food. Let's see how you handle that. If you digest that well, everything goes well, then we can start going to solids, right? Mashed potatoes and things that we think you can handle. Then, now you can chew food. Now we can start giving you little things that you can handle and you can chew them, cut them up into small pieces. And no, they just jumped in and they said, hey, eat this steak dinner, bro. And he's like, I don't even have teeth. Well, gum it. Figure it out. They finally gave this man some semblance of a run game. DeAndre Swift, 16 carries, 93 yards, by far and away his best performance as a member of the Chicago Bears. Roschon Johnson, 7 carries, 26 yards. So just between those two, you got 23 carries for 119 yards. That's by far and away the best supporting day from the run game that he's had in the first 4 weeks of this season. DeAndre Swift, again, massive game, 7 catches, 72 yards. Again, a lot of check downs, screens, things of that nature. I don't care. Get him comfortable. Get him confident, right? If that's what it takes, do it. Now, I know DJ Moore is frustrated, and it's written all over his face. You know, he doesn't have to say a word. It's written all over his face. I've never seen a player, I go back to that Texans game, roll over after an incomplete pass on the sideline, roll over on the ground, take his helmet off immediately. He's not injured. Get up off the ground and walk with his helmet in his hand because he's so pissed off. Like, he is not happy. But patience is a virtue. We'll see if this thing, kind of comes together. Baby steps. I like what they did around Caleb in this game because the defense is good. The defense is going to be good. And the defense was very good in this game. We'll talk more about that when we actually talk about this game. But for Caleb, I thought it was his most efficient game. You're talking about almost 70% completion percentage in this game, 17 of 23, I think is 70% completion percentage. You're talking about only 157 yards, but that's not what's important here. What's important is he had completions. He kept them on schedule. He put them in positions to try to convert on third downs. He kept them from those long downs and distances. He stayed out of sack situations, right? Part of that was because the ball got out quickly and they ran the football. He only was sacked 3 times. Again, vast improvement from what we've seen. This man was hit 11 times and sacked 6 times versus the Texans 2 weeks ago. He'd been ravaged. The Colts sacked him like 4 times and hit him like 8 or 9 times last week. So for this week, for him to only get sacked 3 times and those be the only 3 times he got hit in the game altogether, vast improvement. They're trending in the right direction. And most importantly, they got the win. And this felt like a total team win. Defense made plays, special teams made plays, offense did their part, and they were able to secure the victory. And so this is a good game to build off of if you're Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. Now let's see how you continue to build off this particular performance. You got another home game. See if you can't build off of this performance and continue to give Caleb confidence. On to the next one. Number 2 overall pick in the draft belonged to the Washington Commanders this past spring, and they spent it on Jaden Daniels, and he has started all 4 games, and boy, has he ever. This one being more of I think last week's game against Cincinnati was an announcement. This one was more of a reminder. That wasn't a fluke, and I'm the real deal. 42-14, the Commanders won in Arizona on the road. Second consecutive road victory for the Commanders. Jaden Daniels continues this ridiculous start to his career. Last week, it was 91.3% completion percentage. This week, it was 88% completion percentage, 26 of 30 for 233 yards. He did throw his first career interception in this game. He also offset that by throwing his 3rd touchdown pass of his career in this game. Also had another rushing touchdown. So add another one of those to the collection for Jaden Daniels. He now has 4 rush touchdowns on the season, has rushed for a touchdown in every game except 1 this year. 2 in Tampa in week 1, 1 last week against Cincinnati, another in this game against the Arizona Cardinals. Washington scored on 7 of their 9 drives in this game, 5 touchdowns, 2 field goals, also scored on a 2-point conversion, which Daniels threw a beautiful ball in the back of the end zone to Zach Ertz. At times, this offense looks unstoppable. Daniels right now is arguably the best quarterback in the NFC. I'll make the claim that he's the best quarterback in the conference right now. And they're playing exceptional football, and they actually got help from the defense here. As I mentioned, Daniels now is at 82.1% completion percentage through the first 4 games of his career, which is an NFL record for any season, not for a rookie quarterback, for any season for the first 4 games of the season. He's playing at an incredible level. His legs are a problem. His arm is an even bigger problem right now. And the way that he's playing the game is changing things very rapidly for the Washington Commanders. As I said last week, as long as he's upright, this is a runaway favorite to be the offensive rookie of the year. And there are people talking about league MVP, which I think is asinine. But nothing's out of bounds with this kid as he's playing that well right now. And they were on a 16 straight scoring possession streak that was snapped by the interception he threw. They then punted the next possession after that. And then very promptly after the punt, they went and scored on their next 5 possessions. So now they're working on a 5 straight possession score streak. So this is incredible. They've scored on 21 of their last 23 possessions. Again, taking out the kneel downs for the end of the game and the end of the half. This is pure insanity. Jaden Daniels right now is the real deal. And I don't think anybody saw this coming. I don't care how big of a Jaden Daniels fan you were. You could not have seen this type of play coming this soon. This is incredible. This is absolutely incredible. And then you get to the final rookie that is starting right now, the final rookie that was taken in the first round of the 6 rookie quarterbacks. Bo Nix, drafted by the Denver Broncos, making his 4th career start. Broncos are now 2-2 on the season. They've won 2 in a row. Their defense is lights out. And this was really as good as Bo Nix was last week through his first touchdown pass this week. As good as he was last week, he was equally as bad this week. Now, with that said, it was some nasty weather in New Jersey on Sunday. It was miserable outside. And he had an issue gripping the football. You could see it was a big problem for him. But it wasn't just that. The completions, this man at one point, listen to this. I've never seen this before. And I've watched so much football. I've seen so many things. It's hard for me to see something that doesn't involve a rule change. It's hard for me to see something that I've never seen before on a football field from a statistical standpoint, because I've seen just about everything, because I've watched so much football. This man at one point in this game was 5 of 12. 5 of 12. He's completed 5 passes for -9 yards. I didn't stutter. I didn't stammer. 5 of 12 for -9 yards. This was his stat line in the second quarter. He completed another pass for 2 yards, and he was 6 of 13 for -7 yards. And I'm just sitting there baffled as to how we got here. But when you watch the game, a lot of behind the line of scrimmage throws, screens, and checkdowns where guys were getting tackled for 2 and 3 yard losses. And it just stockpiled. And like the first throw of the game was a wide receiver screen. It was probably a 5-yard loss, 4-yard loss, just like that. Then he would have a completion for 1 yard, and then he would have a completion for, -3. And it just kept being that way. And you kept saying, wow, that's another loss. Wow, that's another loss. Wow, that's another loss. And then you look at his statistics and you're going, that is incredible. He finished the game 12 of 25. So another nasty completion percentage game, sub 50% for Bo Nix for 60 yards. I wonder what's the lowest amount of yards a quarterback has thrown for in a victory. I'd love for someone to tell me what that number is. And I want to know, with a bare minimum of 20 attempts, I need to get somebody, get my crack staff on that. Bare minimum of 20 attempts, start to finish, right? He didn't come in the third quarter of the game. Bare minimum of 20 attempts, played the entire game in a victory. What is the lowest amount of passing yards a quarterback has had in NFL history? This has got to be top 5. Got to be. Man went 12 of 25 for 60 yards. 1 touchdown, no interceptions. And I can't stress this enough. I keep talking about it when we talk about these young fellas. If your team is offensively challenged and your defense is really good, the biggest contribution you can make as a young quarterback is to not turn the football over. It really doesn't matter if your defense is good or not. But it takes it to another level. It magnifies if your defense is really good. You really don't want to turn it over. Give them a shot to win you the football game. He's done that each of the last 2 weeks, and surprise, the Denver Broncos have won each of the last 2 weeks. It was a nasty game, man. And I'm happy for Bo Nix. He threw his first career NFL touchdown pass to Cortland Sutton, got that ball. He'll never forget that pass because he'll never forget this game because it was nasty. But the most important thing is they won the game 10-9. It's the first time in Aaron Rodgers' career that his team has surrendered 10 points or less in a game and he's lost. Because Aaron Rodgers doesn't score less than 10 points most weeks. He's the quarterback of a team. That was a pretty special game by the Jets to lose in the fashion that they did. But we'll talk about that when we get there. But kudos to Bo Nix. And I told you, I like this kid because there's a level of moxie, and more importantly, there's an intestinal fortitude that he possesses that allows him to overcome adversity. And I think it stems from when he started his career at Auburn and shit didn't go well. It was rough. You can't go to the SEC and be as heralded as a quarterback as he was and not have it work out and not be mentally tough. To transfer to Oregon and turn your career around and end up being a first-round pick. No one saw that when he left Auburn and left the SEC. He had to overcome that adversity, and boy, did he ever. And I told you in week 1 where he didn't play well, and he turned it over a couple of times, and you could argue he was responsible for the deficit that they had in that game. He didn't quit, and he scored a rushing touchdown late in that game, got him within a touchdown, and had a chance to kick an onside kick, and I said, Bo Nix didn't quit. He didn't flinch. He just kept going. Shit wasn't going well, but he didn't stop fighting. I said, that's going to work out well for him. I saw that same fight in this game because, boy, it was nasty for 2 quarters of football. Really, 4 quarters of nasty ball. Let's keep it a buck. But the third quarter was his most productive quarter. It's where they scored their lone touchdown of the game. Hell, that was the only touchdown scored of the game by either team. And he started to throw it well in the third quarter. And so it's one of the worst offensive performances I've seen in a game from 2 teams in my life. That first half, you can't find me a worse offensive game between 2 teams. Now, granted, the weather just was not cooperative in any way, shape, or form. Still, it was bad football across the board on offense for both teams. And for him to overcome that, find a way, get it done, win the game, despite having some of the worst numbers I've ever seen from a winning quarterback in an NFL game. Kudos to Bo Nix for getting it done. He's now 2-2, as these Denver Broncos are now 2-2. And this defense is legit. This defense is legit. They're playing ball out there. And all Bo Nix has to do is be the conductor. He doesn't need to be Superman. He doesn't have to put on the cape most weeks. Just be the conductor. Steer this thing in the right direction. Vance Joseph's defense right now, ridiculous. Ridiculous. Get the ball to the playmakers. Don't turn it over. Get the team in positions to at least get points. Field goals, fine. Whatever. Just don't turn it over. Even if you got a punt. With that defense, you'll be in a lot of ball games. They win that game 10-9 over the Jets through the Broncos. And that's 2 in a row for Bo Nix as the starter of the Denver Broncos. So that is our look at the youngins for week number 4. We'll do it again in week number 5. But now let's go and put our skates on as we hit the pavement and go slate skating for week number 4 in the National Football League. Go ahead. I'm going to give you an opportunity to put them skates on. You know, I got on my rollerblades. I'm ready to go. So our trip around the league starts in Green Bay, where the Minnesota Vikings remain unbeaten. They are now the lone undefeated team in the NFC at 4-0 with a 31-29 victory over the Green Bay Packers. And if you watch this game, this was one of the weirdest NFL games I've ever seen from a ebbs and flow standpoint. This game, you would have never known by looking at this final score. You didn't watch this game. You would have never known that this was 28-0 Minnesota in the second quarter. This game was over midway through the second quarter. You would have never known by the final score here. And it's rare that you say that a team who was down at 1 point, 28-0, should have won a game and had every opportunity to win the game. But that is exactly the case with Green Bay here. Sam Darnold continues. Let's start with the Vikings first. I don't want to kind of give the Packers all of the shine here. You lost the game. You're 2-2. Let's talk about the 4-0 team here. Sam Darnold continues to be ridiculous. 20 of 28 for 275, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. And they ran the ball effectively. Aaron Jones in his return to Green Bay, he wanted to get in the end zone. They were trying to get him in the end zone. He just couldn't. 22 carries, 93 yards for him. Justin Jefferson continues to be a beast. 6 catches, 85 yards, had a nasty one-handed catch in this game. Also had a gorgeous touchdown grab. Jordan Addison got the party started with an early touchdown in this game. He had a big game, 3 catches, 72 yards, and the aforementioned touchdown. So they just continue to roll on offense, and defensively, they continue to create turnovers. They were able to pick off Jordan Love 3 times in this game. They were all over the place, and they just defensively, they just seem to always be in the right place at the right time right now. And offensively, if you make a mistake and you give them a short field, you're going to pay for it. Doesn't matter really, long field, short field, they're making you pay. And kind of felt like they took their foot off the gas pedal in this game. Like, oh, we got them, and then you don't got them, but then you do got them. So it was 28-0. And the Packers, this game was crazy because they couldn't stop Minnesota early. And they went right down the field, boat raced them, first possession, touchdown. Green Bay had a chance to respond, missed a field goal. Minnesota said, oh, you want to miss a field goal? They went and got a touchdown. It's 14-0. Green Bay had another opportunity to kick a field goal, missed that field goal. They turned it over. Jordan Love was picked off. They had drop passes Dontavius Wicks can't catch. And so he had a rough go of it. Dropped at least 3 passes in this game. Some critical ones at that. But Jordan Love was all over the damn place too. Just doing random ass shit. And my wife was like, why they don't put Malik Willis in the game? I'm like, nah, we don't need to do that. But I don't know. He might have been better. I know that sounds crazy, but him running the ball might have been a little bit more effective than Love, who really didn't want to run. He's not 100%. You could tell he was still limping around a little bit. Took a hit at one point in the game and got up, a little gimpy. And so you could tell he wasn't 100%. But they missed 2 field goals early in the game, Narverson, right? And then so now the coach lost confidence and him. So they went for it in a position where you normally would kick a field goal, and it was like 4th and 10. But because I don't trust Narveson, he's already missed twice, and he's a rookie, and his confidence is shot right now. I'm gonna go for it on 4th down. So that cost him another scoring opportunity. As I mentioned, they had a bunch of turnovers. Jordan Love had 3 interceptions that he threw in this game, 4 touchdown passes, but he was 32 of 54 for 389 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. And some of these interceptions were bad interceptions. Like, bro, what the man? And so this was one of those games that make you want to pull your hair out. If you're a Packers fan, you're like, man, this is some bullshit. But if you're a Vikings fan, you're like, this shit shouldn't even been this close. Every time Green Bay had a response, though, try to get back in the game, Minnesota said, oh, no, you don't. No, you don't. And so the score doesn't do this game any justice because really Minnesota dominated this game. But then when you think about it from a Packers perspective, you're like, bro, they lost this game by 2 points. They missed 2 field goals. They didn't kick another one because they didn't trust their kicker. They dropped about 3 passes in critical situations, and they had a bunch of turnovers, and some of them even taking points off the board. And you go, okay. When you put it that way, Green Bay could have won this game too. You know what was crazy? This thing was 28-0, and I wouldn't turn it off because it never felt like the game was over because I'm like, Green Bay's moving the ball. They're moving the ball. But Minnesota's 4-0, man. They're 4-0. Green Bay's 2-2. And Jordan Love remains winless on the season. One of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. And I'm telling you right now, I'm not sold on Jordan Love just yet. I think he's a good quarterback. But he's still doing some dumb shit. And he's missing some throws. And I know it was his first game back. They put a lot on him. 54 attempts in your first game back. Put a lot on him. I need him to be better, though. More accurate, better decision-making, all of that stuff. That comes with being one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. I often have to remind myself, this dude only started 1 full season, right? I have to keep reminding myself of that because the money he got paid suggests that he's been doing this for 3-4 years. He really hasn't. He looked like a dude that's only been doing it for going into his 2nd season. He looked like that in the game yesterday or Sunday, excuse me. Let's knock this Denver Broncos Jets game out real quick. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. We talked about it already, but this game was ugly. Aaron Rodgers, 24 of 42 for 225, no touchdowns, no interception. He was sacked 5 times. They were on his ass in this game. Pause. What I'm telling you is they would lighten Aaron Rodgers' ass up, man. Aaron looked old. He looked uncomfortable. They hit Aaron Rodgers 14 times in this game. Let me repeat that. The Broncos hit Aaron Rodgers 14 times and sacked him 5 times in this game. They were not playing with him. And it got to the point where he got so antsy. He did not look comfortable. He was dancing back there. I've never seen Aaron Rodgers that fidgety in the pocket. He was antsy. But even saying all of that, he made some plays, man. He made some plays, darting in and out, back and forth in the pocket, finding people. He was constantly under duress. For all of this talk of a revamped offensive line, man, they were getting their shit kicked in by this Denver Broncos defense. I mean, good grief. But neither team could run the football. Listen to this. I'm watching this game, and we are midway through the second quarter, early stages, rather, of the second quarter. Probably like 10 minutes left in the second quarter. And there are 90 penalty yards between the two teams and only 23 yards of total offense between the two teams. So the penalty yardage was winning 90-23. About a third through the second quarter. I mean, this was a shit show. Now, again, the weather was just brutal weather. But neither team really had anything going until I think the Broncos started to establish a little bit of a run game in the second half. They could really never establish a run game. The Jets could. Breece Hall had 10 carries for 4 yards. That's the type of day it was, right? That's the type of time that Broncos defense was on. Meanwhile, Braylon Allen was 8 carries, 34 yards. And so there's a lot of conversation about the Jets after this game. I told y'all that their offensive coordinator is awful. Nathaniel Hackett is trash, okay? Fresh, hot buns out of the oven. And Rodgers just continues to defend him. But there were blitzes that they didn't have answers to. They got down, so they got a pass interference that essentially put them at the one, and not essentially, it put them at the one. The pass interference occurred in the end zone. Put them at the 1 yard line. It's like a 40-yard pass interference. Rodgers threw the bitch up to Lazard, drew a pass interference penalty in the end zone. Ball's at the 1. This is a 0-0 game. They get it at the 1 yard line. They run it with Breece Hall. First of all, you should have put Braylon Allen in the game, right? Because this dude is like 230 pounds. Anyway, they put Breece Hall in, ran the ball on first down, stopped him. Ran the ball on second down, stopped him. Tried to throw it on third down. The Broncos was like, bro, that was so predictable. Run, pass? Really? You going to fake a play action and try to run a boot with Aaron Rodgers? We all over that shit, man. Get out of my face with that. He had to throw it out of bounds. So they're still at the 1 yard line, bro. And they're going to go for it. And Rodgers gets up there, barks out his hard count, and one of his offensive linemen move. False start. Now you're back to the 6 yard line. Now you got to kick a field goal. This happened 5 or 6 times during the game where guys just weren't locked in. Breece Hall had 2 false starts. When's the last time you heard a running back have 2 false starts in a game? He had 2 false starts. Offensive line had 4 false starts. They were all over the place. It was a mess. Even with all of this said, the Jets had the football with the chance to win, down 10-9. Rodgers is sacked on a first of all, they got into field goal range on a play, and Rodgers did something that I don't see him do very often. He took a sack in a position where you're like, come on, bro. You know better than that shit. And it kind of forced him out of field goal range. They had to punt. Bo Nix did the same goddamn thing. It was one of them type days. But Rodgers has his football with 2 minutes and some change left. And you're thinking they're going to go get this field goal. It's Rodgers. They're not losing this game 10-9. They're winning this game 12-10. And they start moving, and then the Broncos sack his ass. He doesn't see it coming. And they were blitzing the shit out of him. They disrespected Aaron Rodgers in a way I haven't seen a defense give Aaron Rodgers the middle finger in a long time. Like, this is real disrespectful shit. They treated Aaron Rodgers like he was a rookie. I dare you. I'm going to blitz the draws off of you. I dare you. And he was so out of sync with his receivers. He's throwing back shoulder fades. Guys are running go balls. He did it on 2 consecutive plays on that possession where they ended up having a punt, or they went for it on 4th down and he got sacked. He's throwing a go ball. Guys running up. He's throwing a back shoulder fade. Guys running a go ball. And it was just crazy to watch this shit unfold the way that it did. So then they get sacked on 4th down. PJ Locke sacks his ass. He never sees it coming. Broncos have the football. All they got to do is run, force the Jets to use all their timeouts and kick this field goal. And the game's pretty much over. They run. They kick the field goal. They miss. So then the Jets have it one final time, and they don't need a ton of yards because they missed the field goal, so they ended up with great field position. And Rodgers gets them in the field goal range. But I didn't love the play call in that once they got in the field goal range, he got them in the field goal range rather quickly. Beautiful, throw to Mike Williams up the sideline, all that good stuff. I think that was the same possession. Might have been Mike Williams over the middle of the field, whatever, right? Rodgers did it, put him in the field goal range. I didn't like the play calling once they got into the field goal range. It was trash. And then they had a possession earlier in the game when it was 3-0, when they were in field goal range. And on third down, instead of them allowing Rodgers with a timeout, mind you, with like 15 seconds left in the first half, with the timeout, I'll remind you, third down, they run a draw instead of letting Rodgers take a shot at the end zone from about the 12, 13, 14-yard line. Of course, the crowd booed. I would have booed. What are you doing? Like, Nathaniel Hackett is so garbage. All right. So Rodgers has done all he can do. They're in field goal range. This is it. You make this field goal. The Broncos have called, a timeout here to preserve some time on the back end of this. So if they make this field goal, they'll have about 42 seconds left and a timeout to try to go get a field goal of their own. And Greg Zuerlein comes onto the field and he misses the kick. And the Jets lose this game 10-9. And I'm just like, oh my God, you just lost to the Denver Broncos at home 10-9. Are you kidding me? And the first thing I thought about was we were so disrespectful to the Broncos after the Jets disposed of the Patriots on Thursday Night Football last week. Oh, and they got the Broncos. They're going to be 3-1. And the Broncos said, oh, yeah? That's the second time you did that shit to me in 2 weeks. You looked at the schedule. Tampa had us coming up. The Buccaneers are going to be 3-0 after that game. Stop disrespecting us, bro. Duly noted. Duly noted. Won't happen again. My deepest apologies. Mistakes were made. There's some weird energy going on with the Jets. I'm going to save this for tomorrow's episode. I just got to thinking about it. I was going to talk about it today, but we still got a lot of games to get through, other things that we got to talk about. I'm going to save that for tomorrow because there's some weird energy. After the game, Salah's blaming Aaron Rodgers for the false starts. Rodgers is like, bro, shut up. How about you get them to lock in and not worry about the shit that I've been doing we got to talk about this. There's the weird hug, push away from the Thursday night game. Like, we got some shit to talk about, man. But I've also got an analogy or a comparison to this situation. See if you feeling that. We'll do that tomorrow. So let's get to the Saints and Falcons. NFC South family business. You know how the family do it. Falcons win the game 26-24. And even up their record at 2-2. Get their first home victory of the season. And I'm just asking myself, how many goddamn home games are the Falcons going to play anyway? Their first game of the season was against Pittsburgh at home. They go on the road on a Monday night to play Philadelphia. They come back home the week after that. And they play the Kansas City Chiefs on a Sunday night. They just played the Saints at home, and they playing another home game this week. Thursday Night Football against Tampa Bay. How many home games you going to get these bastards? They better have a nasty streak of road games coming up here shortly. That's 4 in the first 5 weeks at home and 3 in a row. Well, goddamn. My team, we're in week 4. My team has played 1 home game this season. 1. These bastards have played 3, and they're going to play their 4th on Thursday. This is insane. Anyway, I digress. This was a fun game. The Falcons' offense is abysmal right now. It is abysmal. They won this game off the strength of their defense and special teams. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure that the Falcons even scored an offensive touchdown in this game. Let's check and see. At one point, they hadn't scored an offensive touchdown. The Saints, inexplicably, Rashid Shaheed tries to field a punt inside the 5-yard line. It bounces off of his chest plate into the end zone, and it's recovered by the Falcons for a touchdown. That's how they scored their first touchdown in the game. The defense had a pick 6. Anderson, pick 6. That's how they scored their second touchdown in the game. I'm not sure that they scored an offensive touchdown. Let me check and see. No, they didn't score an offensive touchdown in this game. Wk4, 4 field goals, right? And pick 6 by Troy Anderson and the recovery in the end zone on special teams. So they did not score a single offensive touchdown. Kirk Cousins throws another interception in this game. Does not throw a touchdown pass. 21 of 35 for 238. The run game saved them. Really, it was Tyler Algier that saved them in this game offensively. 8 carries, 60 yards. When they had nothing going, when they were dead in the water offensively, when they couldn't even get a first down, they just started handing the ball to Tyler Algier, and he started to break tackles, run physically, and he started to give them a bit of offensive rhythm, right? A lot of their offensive drives that resulted in field goals were because of Tyler Algier, right? And then at the end, Kirk Cousins got him in the field goal range. But I'm just telling you right now, they're off offensively. I don't really know. Like, they got too much talent for this shit to be happening. And I get it. You know, new offense, new pieces, new quarterback, lots of moving parts. They got to figure this shit out, though. As much as I want to come up here and say that they won the game, they should have lost this bitch. Straight up. The Saints outplayed them in this game. You know, and that's just, I'm going to just keep it a buck. Derek Carr, 28 to 36, 239. That one interception was very costly, though. It was a pick 6. But Alvin Kamara, 19 carries, 77 yards. Taysom Hill was killing them before he got injured. That's really where the game changed for the Saints. Taysom Hill had 2 touchdowns. I think they were both in the first half. And then he got injured, and he left the game, didn't come back. And it's like they kind of lost their edge. Because he had 6 carries for 24 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first, I'd say, quarter and a half before he left the game. But they were able to run the ball. We're the Saints. They were able to throw the football pretty consistently throughout the game. And if not for the turnovers, the muff punt, which was just inexplicable. Why are you fielding a punt inside your 5-yard line after 2, have it bounce off your chest plate and into the end zone? Why are you even doing that? Let that puppy bounce. If they down it, so be it. And then the pick 6. But even with all that said, Derek Carr took him down the field. Alvin Kamara on I want to say it was a 4th down, might have been a 3rd down, powers through a linebacker to get in the end zone. A lot of people don't give him credit for how physical he is as a runner. Gets into the end zone, gives them the lead in this game, 24 to 23. And excuse me, I'm looking at the clock and I'm looking at Kirk Cousins and I'm saying, you got plenty of time, Kirk. Do what you do. And right on cue, he takes them down the field. And then get this, they get to about the 40-yard line. This shit is inexplicable. There's about 20 seconds left. And they just start chucking the bitch like they need a touchdown. Deep shot after 3 deep shots in a row. And I was like, bro, you just need about 5 or 6 more yards to get in the comfortable field goal range. What the hell are you doing? 3 straight incompletions. I said, well, you're going to lose now because Wk4 ain't hitting no 58-yard field goal. I lie to you not. I told my wife, they just lost me the goddamn game. And I went to the bathroom. I had to pee. I was pissed. And I go use the bathroom, and my wife says, I said, stop playing. Stop playing. I run out. I ain't even washed my hands yet. Ran out the bathroom, turned the corner, and I said, Wk4. It wasn't Wk4. It was Wk4. And you know, that's my sister team. So I'm low-key rooting for them because I want my sister to be happy. And I also had the Falcons, more importantly. So that was a big win. And it was big for the division too, because if you're Atlanta, you can't afford to drop to 1-3, having played 3 road home games already, having not won any of them until you won this one. You couldn't afford to lose your 3rd consecutive home game to start the season up. Couldn't afford to do it. And knowing you got another NFC South matchup on Thursday Night Football, this time at home, I mind you again. So they're going to be doing a lot of road work late in the season in the division against Tampa Bay, who leads this division. You couldn't afford to drop to 1-3 on the season. So this was a big win. If you're in New Orleans, man, oh man, what a missed opportunity. This was self-inflicted. You dominated this game. You had no business losing. Your defense shut down the Falcons' offense essentially all 4 quarters. You gave up 4 field goals defensively, and you still lose the game. It's sort of like the Tennessee Titans in week 1. Defense did nothing wrong, yet a special teams block punt for a touchdown and a pick 6 thrown by the quarterback loses you a football game. Nothing worse as a defense to lose a game in which you didn't do anything wrong, but unfortunately other parts, and it's a 3-phase game, offense, defense, special teams. And the Saints won the defensive phase of this game. And you could argue outside of the pick 6, they won the offensive phase of this game as well. And unfortunately, they lost the special teams phase. And they had the turnovers. And those turnovers were soul crushing. And now a team that started off as hot as any in the league, 2 straight wins, 91 points through the first 2 weeks. They've now lost 2 consecutive games and find themselves at 2-2, searching for answers. Both teams are 2-2. Big win, quick turnaround for the Falcons at home Thursday night against the Buccaneers. Eagles, speaking of the Buccaneers, Eagles and Bucks. Talking about lopsided, one-sided beatdowns. This was one of them on Sunday. This score at one point was 24-0. The Bucks were up about midway through the second quarter. And you just never felt like the Eagles were going to be competitive in this game once they got down big. And, man, there's a lot of questions in Philadelphia right now. And I told you they're a front-running team. And, you know, there's not a lot of accountability in that locker room. And this thing could go south really quick. This could go sideways. Like, if they don't come off this bye on a mission, and, you know, I'm interested. Who do the Eagles have coming off the bye? They got the Browns. They got some get-right opportunities, right? Browns, Giants, Bengals, Jags, Cowboys, Rams. The Commanders are in there after the Cowboys game on a quick turnaround Thursday night. So they're going to have some opportunities to get their shit together. This is not a tough schedule by any stretch of the imagination. But with the way they're playing, it could turn into a tough schedule, right? So we'll see what happens. But this was a disgusting performance if you're an Eagles fan. And I think I saw more Eagles disdain for their organization, their head coach, you know, their whole operation. I saw more disdain after this game than I have in a very long time. Jalen Hurts didn't look good in this game. 18-30, which you expected, but I thought he would play better than what he played, right? Because even without your top 2 targets, you still had Dallas Goedert. You still had Saquon Barkley. You still had some options to get the football to. First of all, I talked about this last week, and I asked LB on the NFC East Super Friends stream, are you not the least bit, worried that in a game against the Saints in which Saquon Barkley didn't touch the ball until the second quarter and was your best player, are you not concerned that you go stretches without this man touching the football? We saw the same thing last year with DeAndre Swift. This man was the leading rusher after the first 2 weeks of the season, and they just refused to give him the football. And he said, no, because the way the game was going, he made an excuse, as he customarily does. Instead of owning the shit that's going on, he buries his head in the sand. This is what happens when you bury your head in the sand. Shit doesn't go away. It just gets worse. And Saquon Barkley had 10 carries for 84 yards in this game. He is their best player right now without A.J. Brown and Devontae. He is their team, and they still refuse to give him the football. I get it. The Bucs are one of the best run-stopping defenses in football, but that doesn't mean you don't test them. 59-yard run he had in this game, did Saquon. With more opportunities, you would like to think he would have done damage. They never gave him a chance. And they put the first 7 plays were all passes by Jalen Hurts. And I'm like, this is inexplicable. You're putting the game on his shoulders like he's one of them ones. He's not. And he doesn't have his targets. What are you doing? But hey, that's your offensive coordinator, not mine. And so Hurts continues to be a turnover machine. Had 2 fumbles in this game, lost one of them, and that was a critical fumble because at that time of the game, they were just starting to get their mojo. They were just starting to kind of get back into this game. At that point, it was 24-14, and they had the football on the move. And Hurts gets sacked and just horrible pocket awareness. Gets sacked, ball comes out, recovered by the Bucs. They go down, score a touchdown after that, and the game was never the same after that. That took any wind out of the sails that the Eagles had in the game, and they ultimately lose this thing 33-16. I'll tell you what, Baker Mayfield looked sharp. Denny's was open. Yes, we know the way things are supposed to go. Good eats, comfortable seats. Come on into Denny's. Come on in. Try our new delicious skillet. It's only $1.99. Come on in. Hey, I saw a lot of Eagles fans. I saw one of their OGs, Trey Thomas, former offensive tackle for the Eagles, longtime offensive tackle, say, I could never envision Brian Dawkins or what was his name? Bobby. Why can't I think of the damn corner's name? He said Brian Dawkins, Bobby, whatever the name of the corner was, or Lito Shepherd. Right? I could never imagine one of those dudes going on Michael Strahan's podcast and talking about the game that just happened. Could never see that happening. You know, it's a different league though, man. Like they got to understand, dudes swap jerseys at the end of games. It's a brotherhood. You know, it is what it is, right? But it just goes to show you, I can't imagine getting my teeth kicked in, my team struggling, and I'm on a podcast kikiing with the ops. That's just hard. Like even like as a fan, I don't care if you got your friends with the with the ops. I don't care. That's the standard operating procedure now. The days of we hate them, they hate us, that's over with. Get over it. If you're still stuck in that mind frame, then you're not going to enjoy the game because that's not how it's played anymore, right? But as a Commanders fan, I'd be pretty pissed if I saw Bobby Wagner on a podcast with Micah Parsons after we just got our ass kicked. Kikiing and shit. I just think the optics of that is just bad, period. And if I'm the coach of a team, I don't care what you do in the offseason. You can do whatever you want to do. You can go on anybody's podcast. You can chop it up, kiki, whatever, anybody you want. During the season, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. And I'm all about you getting to the bag and doing this and doing that. And Michael Parsons could do whatever you want. But what we going to do here on our team is we're not going to do that. That's just how I would operate. But it is what it is. Baker Mayfield was sharp against that Eagles defense. And you know what? If I want to get back to doing my rookie wall, it's just a lot of work. But if I were doing my rookie wall, Bucky Irving would be pretty high on my rookie wall right now. He's really impressive in Tampa Bay. He catches it out of the backfield. He runs it. He's dynamic. 10 carries, 49 yards, touchdown in this game. I like him a lot. The Bucs had their way with the Eagles defensively, and they're 3-1 after a disappointing loss the week prior against Denver at home, where they just didn't show up. They showed up and showed out against the Eagles, and now they got a quick turnaround Thursday Night Football. Big game. Yeah, this is for first place in the division. If you're Tampa, you take care of business here, you could create some distance between yourself and the rest of the division, obviously pending what happens with New Orleans on Sunday. But you take care of the Falcons. They're the next team, below you right now in the standings. You lose this game, however, and they've now won 2 games in the division. They're 2-0, and now you've dropped the game in the division, and they have the tiebreaker over you currently. And so this is a big one on Thursday night, and this was a big win for Tampa on Sunday. So we'll see how it goes. Baker Mayfield has gotten off to a great start this season. Bengals, Panthers. Um, Panthers or Bengals, excuse me, get off the schneid. I told you we talked about this on the podcast on Friday of the winless teams, right? Might have been Thursday last week. I think it was Friday. But we talked about the winless teams and who had the best opportunities to get off the schneid. I told you there were 3 winless teams in the league, all residing in the AFC: Jacksonville, Tennessee, and Cincinnati. And I said of the 3, 2 will win. Cincinnati will win. Tennessee will win. Jacksonville, not so much. They actually got a lot closer than I thought they were. We'll talk about that in a second. But Cincinnati did what I thought they were going to do. Was it as clean a performance as I expected from them? Not exactly. Not exactly. But they got it done in this game, 34-24 over the Carolina Panthers. This one was nip and tuck early. I mean, we're midway through the second quarter, and this thing's 14-14. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute. What are you doing here, Cincinnati? What you doing here? And it was like, man, relax. We got this. They scored 17 unanswered points, took a 31-14 lead, and then kind of hung on for dear life. But they took care of business. What is apparent is Joe Burrow is officially back in his bag. He did have an interception in this game, but 22 of 31 for 232, 2 touchdowns. Jamar Chase had a crazy, short catch, broke 2 tackles, hauled ass down the sidelines, and next thing you know, it's a 60-yard touchdown that is inexcusable if you're a Panthers defense. T. Higgins continues to kind of work his way back, get more comfortable and acclimated. And this team, they're going to be interesting to watch over the next few weeks because they dug themselves this really deep hole. Generally, you go 0-3, your season's done. I told you I'm not pronouncing them dead yet because they're built different. They're built a little different. And this was a big one. Let's see who they have next. They've got the Giants on Sunday Night Football, right? Very winnable football game. Take care of business there. Then you get the Browns. Now, you've struggled in Cleveland. Burrow, I'm not sure, has won in Cleveland in his career yet. I'm not sure about that. Don't quote me on that, but I know for a fact he's lost in Cleveland 3 times. Now, could he have won once? Sure. But I know he's lost 3 in Cleveland for sure. Then you get the Eagles at home. Then you get the Raiders at home. You've got a chance to get back to 500 if you win 4 out of your next 5 games, which is very plausible, right? You can get back to 500 by winning your next 2 games. But one at a time if you're Cincinnati. You took care of business. You did what you needed to do against Carolina. The Panthers put up a fight. Andy Dalton, 25 of 40, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. There was a fake punt in this game that I did not like because the score was tied at that point. Like, what are you doing? Why? Like, why are we doing this right now? Let me make sure I'm not tripping. Let's see. No, it was 28-14. Excuse me. My bad. The Panthers had opportunities in this game. They moved the football. Unfortunately for them, they couldn't get out of their own way. Threw an interception, poor tackling, penalties, some untimely penalties. They couldn't get off the field on 3rd downs. And ultimately, that was their undoing. They really were step for step with Cincinnati for much of this game. But when it came down to scoring points, the Bengals scored points and the Panthers did not. And that's how you win in this league is you got to score points. And unfortunately, Carolina couldn't do it. So big win for Cincinnati. It was their first win. You got to get the first one. Can't get to 3 in a row without 1, right? Can't get to 2 in a row without 1. For Carolina, this is what I expected. I told y'all that first win was like that new coach boost you get when you fire your coach in season and you get an interim. That's what that felt like. At some point, you would like them to go back to, we're not there yet. Yeah, they're not there yet. You see this division and how it's kind of going. They're not out of the division race by any stretch of the imagination. At some point, if they're serious about Bryce Young potentially being their future, which I don't see happening, but if you're serious about him being your future, at some point you'd like to get him back out there this season. We're not there yet, but we'll see when that does take place. Jags, Texans. Oh, man. This was a fun one. Jacksonville was game, man. I'll tell you, Jacksonville was game. They heard all the noise, and I'm going to tell you, I feel bad for Doug Peterson because this felt like a last-ditch effort right here. All right? This felt like, hey, if y'all want me to keep my job, I need y'all to give me everything y'all got in this game and go get me a dub in an improbable situation. Because or else this shit's going to spiral and I'm going to get fired, man. And the rumors are starting already. Oh, Bill Belichick's going to be the next head coach of the Jacksonville. The shit's already starting. And I looked up and I said, man, you're not winning this game. I told y'all that. I said, they'll be the only team to not have a win when we get out of week 4. And sure enough, that was the case, but it didn't happen in the fashion that I thought it was going to happen. They've got the Colts this week. The worst thing that happened to the Jags is Anthony Richardson getting hurt. Joe Flacco's going to fillet those boys more likely than not. We'll see what happens. And then they got the Bears. And then they got the Patriots. Like, they could turn this shit around. But you got to win one first, right? Got to win one first. So, this was an interesting game because they jumped on these boys early. 7-0. Then it was 10-7. And they felt like they were confident. They were confident. And you could see that they were confident. And they weren't going to just lay down. They weren't just going to lay down for the Houston Texans in this game. Houston took the lead 14-10. Jacksonville came back, kicked the field goal. Texas kicked the field goal. And then they took the lead 20-17 in the third quarter, did the Jaguars. And they held that lead all the way until 18 seconds left in the game. And it felt inevitable. Like, they had a chance late in the game, if I'm not mistaken. And let me check just to make sure. But I feel like they had the football with a chance. They had the football with a chance with 3 minutes and 51 seconds left. You're saying, all right, this is your shot. Go get a first down and win this game. And they go 3 and out and kick the ball back to the Texans with 2:54 left. And I said, well, you just lost the game. You just lost this game. Because CJ Stroud's finna take them down the field and get in the end zone and end you. And sure enough, CJ Stroud got surgical, took him down the field, got him in the scoring range, found Dare, the running back, Dare Agumbawale, and hit him, touchdown. And I said, damn, what a valiant effort. Wasted. And I thought this was, and look, these aren't going to blow you away, right? These numbers from Trevor Lawrence. 18-33, 169 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He was only sacked once. This was one of the most, beat up offensive lines in terms of how much pressure they've given up, how much, pressure Lawrence has been under and how many times he's been hit and sacked and all of that good stuff. And for them to only give up 1 sack in this game, yeah, the numbers don't blow you away. He's in the 50% completion percentage range. It's not a ton of yards, but this is the first game that I thought he actually looked confident since week 1. He looked confident. Yeah, he missed some throws. He's still missing some throws. It's still not, poetic in any way, shape, or form, but something's going on with Travis Etienne. I don't know if he's got an injury or what, but they had Tanks Bigsby out there a ton. He played really well, did Tanks Bigsby. If I was doing the rookie wall, Brian Thomas Jr. would be pretty high on that list too. He's really good. Really, really good. But at the end of the day, It just wasn't enough. And you got to credit the Texans, man. They just know how to win. CJ Stroud, 27 of 40, 345, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. It's what he does, right? He just doesn't turn it over. Cam Akers was in for Joe Mixon. They really haven't had a consistent running game without Mixon. But this is the real story here. Nico Collins is morphing into one of the league's best receivers quietly. He came into the game leading the NFL in receiving yards. Yes, Nico Collins. He left this game with 12 catches for 151 yards. So if he was already leading the league in receiving yards, and then he puts another 151 on top of that, probably safe to say that he's still atop the league, and he might have created some more distance. Him and CJ Stroud are just killing it right now. And the acquisition of a Stephon Diggs only helps because you got to pay attention to Stephon Diggs. You have to. And it really doesn't matter, right? Nico's eating regardless. And CJ's going to him, and he's making every single play. That duo is becoming very, very fun to watch. Texans get it done again. They know how to win these close games. They haven't blown anybody out this year. All 3 of their victories, if I'm not mistaken, have all been close games. Now, the loss obviously was an ass kicking, but the wins, week 1, I think they beat the Colts by 2 or 3 points. Week 2, they beat the Bears by 6, 19-13. And then here in week 3, they win on a last-second touchdown by 4. So they know how to win these close games. You know, they know how to win these close games, and they do it again. They're 3-1. And Indy is hanging tough. They've won 2 in a row. And so they haven't quite run away with the division yet. But at 3-1, looking around the rest of that division, as long as Indy continues to fight, that'll be their comp. But that division stinks, man. Jacksonville's 0-4. Titans are 1-3. Indy's 2-2, but they got questions at quarterback. We'll get to that game in a second, but they should win that division. The Texans should. This was a fun game here. Indy, speaking of the Colts, Indy at home hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers. Remember, Steelers were one of 3 undefeated teams in the AFC heading into week number 4. I am still baffled as to how the Steelers lost this game. But when you watch the game, you understand that's the power of a quality backup NFL quarterback. And I want to say this right now. If you're a team with Super Bowl aspirations, you best have a quality, competent NFL backup quarterback in the tuck, ready to go at moment's notice. That's how the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. They had Chad blame it on the Henny ready. And when Patrick Mahomes went down, he stepped in. That's how the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Carson Wentz went down, and they had Nicholas mother effing Foles, Big Dick Nick, ready to step in and swing that thing. Pause. You better have you a real quality veteran backup quarterback. You seeing what's going on in Miami right now, right? They weren't prepared. They were ill prepared for Tua to go down, which is very disheartening knowing his past concussion issues. You should have been way more prepared. To me, if it were me, the minute the season was over and I had Super Bowl aspirations, I'm going to go get Joe Flacco. I saw what he did for the Browns last year. They don't make the playoffs without Joe Flacco last year in Cleveland. That man was sitting on the couch and the Browns said, "Hey, you still got something left?" He was like, "Yeah, I got a little bit left in the tank." It was like, "Bet, come jump on the practice squad for a little bit. We might need you." Joe Flacco stepped in this game. Anthony Richardson doing that shit again. I told that young man last year, "Hey, stop that shit, man. This ain't college football no more. Stop crashing into NFL defenders like a crash test dummy, bro. I don't give a shit that you 240 pounds. They're 240 pounds too. And they hit hard. They're 260 pounds. Stop doing that, bro." And he decided on a play early in the game, I'm big, I'm bad, I'm going to run this safety over. And that safety said, "Oh, yeah?" He bopped his ass. And that man went crashing to the turf, clutching. He dropped the ball like, I don't even want this shit no more. He dropped that bitch on the ground. That's when you know you in pain. He's like, man, F this ball. Start clutching his hip. They fighting over the ball. This man is a half yard away from the pile where they fighting for the ball, clutching his hip, writhing in pain. I said, man, I told you about that shit, man. You hard-headed. Told you that shit last year. He leaves the game, comes back in maybe 2 plays later. They try a little and they had the audacity to try a quarterback power with him after that, like a quarterback sweep, a designed run after this man just left the game with a hip injury. He comes back in, he takes about 4 steps and realizes real quick, I can't do this shit. He slides down and leaves the game and doesn't return. I said, uh-oh, that's not good. But if I'm a Colts fan, I'm like, yeah, that shit is good. Because Joe Flacco gives us a better chance to win the game than Anthony Richardson does. And I know that shit stinks. And it stings to hear that. But, and I'll give you a great example. In this game, and I told you this is Anthony Richardson at his peak. This is him. This is the epitome of Anthony Richardson and what he represents, the microcosm. Anthony Richardson, second pass of the game, rolls out to his left, post up, sees his receiver. Want to say it was Michael Pittman Jr. Sandwiched in between 2 Steeler defenders. One's underneath, one's over the top. And he decides to let it rip. And you're probably going, no, 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 no. He puts this shit in the most pristine position you can throw that football. Up high where his 6'4" target can go get it, snatch it out of the air. The guy underneath can't get up there. The guy behind him doesn't have a chance because he's snatching it out of the air. And you just go, wow, what a throw, bro. He did it in week 1 against the Texans. That throw where that and the deep ball to Jaden Daniels, excuse me. Jaden Daniels. Too many goddamn Jadens, and too many J's. God damn it. Jaden Daniels threw against Cincinnati to Terry for the touchdown. Those are the 2 best throws I've seen all season from quarterbacks. This throw is ridiculous against the Steelers to start. And you just go, wow. And he starts off red hot. The very next throw, I kid you not, I can't make this shit up. The very next throw after that, they run a quick out. Just a 5-yard speed cut. Let's get 5 yards on first down. Set us up in 2nd and 5 so we can hand it off to JT Money. And he throws this bitch 3 yards over the receiver's head. He's wide open. 3 yards over his head. Easy pitch and catch. First day of install, OTA throw against the air. And you just go, see, this is the shit I'm talking about. The inconsistency is mind-boggling with this dude, right? But he started this game out hot, on fire. Hot like fire. 3 or 4, 71 yards. They was about to go score a touchdown. Then he gets hurt running the football, trying to be He-Man and shit. And Joe Flacco steps in, and man, Joseph was on his grizzy, man. 16 of 26, 168 yards, 2 touchdowns, and every right move, every big throw, he made it in this game. Didn't do anything crazy, nothing risky, but he was slinging that thing. He was slinging the pill, right? Man, I know a lot of teams that could use a Joe Flacco. I know a lot of teams that could use a Joe Flacco. He came in. Downs, he's a difference maker too. Like, he needs to stay healthy. Josh Downs is a real difference maker in this Colts offense. Every big play they needed, every big third down, it felt like he made it. Especially one late in the game, broke a tackle, got a first down when the Steelers were trying to get the football back. That was a big play. I think it ended up leading to, I want to say it led to a touchdown. If it didn't lead to a touchdown, it led to a field goal, right? A big field goal. And again, they were already in field goal range, but it allowed them to waste, run some more clock, that sort of thing. You make them use their timeouts, all that good stuff. So, Jonathan Taylor, man, JT Money is back. Just so you're aware, 21 carries, 88 yards, touchdown. He hurt his ankle in this game, though. So hopefully he's okay. But, man, what they would have done without Joe Flacco in this game, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. On the Steelers side of things, man, what a tough loss to endure. Justin Fields was fantastic in this game. 22 of 34 for 312 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions. This was his best game statistically of his NFL career, and it looked like it. He's confident. He knows who his teammates are, who to get the ball to in what situations. He's using his legs smartly. He's sliding. He's not doing crazy shit. And he led them in rushing, 10 carries, 55 yards as well. He knows that George Pickens is his best receiver, and I'm going to get him the football, 7 catches, 113 yards. They self-destructed in this game, though, man. Yikes. So I'll just tell you about these two situations, and then we'll move on. It's a tough one because defensively they had been so good. And for whatever reason, when they go to Indy, they just don't play well defensively. And I should have known that, and I should have picked Indy for that reason. But they couldn't get stops when they needed to in this game. But it wasn't about that because they could have outscored Indy in this game. Justin Fields throws a pass to George Pickens in the red zone. He catches this ball at about the 12-yard line, right? He's got the first down. He's fighting for extra yards. And instead of him putting the goddamn football away, like a smart, heady NFL wide receiver, no, I'm George Pickens. I got to palm the football like a mother effing loaf of bread while I'm by the sideline trying to break a tackle, and the dude hits his arm and knocks the ball out of his hands, and the shit is recovered at like the 9-yard line by the Colts. They lost this game by 3 points. Even if the Steelers, and they got one of these offenses where they get in the red zone, they're hard to stop because of Justin Fields' legs. Justin Fields had 2 rushing touchdowns and a passing touchdown in this game. He's going to be tough. They're going to be tough to stop in the red zone when they get close to the end zone because Fields' legs now become a factor. And this clown fumbles because he didn't want to put it away. Are you kidding me? Then Justin Fields, this was the one blemish on his day for me. They're in field goal range, are the Steelers. Fields did that patented Justin Fields, oh shit, I'm about to get sacked. Let me try to escape. All right, I'm going to run backwards 15 yards. Oh shit, I got sacked. Knocked him out of field goal range. I said, come on, Justin, you can't do that, man. You can't do that. They lost this game by 3 points, mind you. They've got the highest 50-yard field goal percentage making kicker in league history on their team. And you just ran yourself out of field goal range on 3rd down, let me see how long this sack was. This sack was a 16-yard sack on 3rd down. And I'm going to get the exact number for you here. I mean, that one was gut wrenching. Let's see. Matter of fact, not only did he get sacked on that play, the man fumbled on that play too. So he ran backwards, right? They're at the Indy 33. So this is that's a 51-yard field goal if they do nothing else. This man runs backwards. He runs backwards from the Indy 33 to the Steelers' 47-yard line. This man ran backwards over 20 yards. Then he slips as he's trying to escape. They hit him, and he drops the ball. He fumbles, and the Colts recover. Now, that led to a missed field goal by Indy, but it still took a scoring opportunity off the scoreboard for the Steelers. So that's the type of day it was for the Steelers. They did stupid shit, and they couldn't get defensive stops that they're accustomed to getting. And it was those two plays offensively. The fumble, that was a 9-play, 91-yard drive that started at their own 2-yard line when George Pickens fumbled that football. Unbelievable. Steelers lose this game 27-24. What a win for Indy. They've won now 2 in a row. And don't look now, they're right back in the thick of things in the AFC South after starting the season 0-2. Bears, Rams. Make this one quick. We already talked about this one. But this is a gutty performance by the Rams with no Puka Nacua, with no Cooper Kupp. They hung in, gave themselves a chance, kicked a bunch of field goals. They could not find the end zone till the fourth quarter. Went for 2, didn't get it. And DeAndre Swift was huge. I already talked about him. He had a big 36-yard run late to put this thing away. But at the end of the day, this was about the Bears defense, which was just extraordinary in this game. They created havoc. They picked off Stafford late in this game. They hit Stafford. They forced a fumble of Stafford. I think Montez Sweat forced a fumble. They recovered that, did the Bears. They did a really good job of just really frustrating the Rams offensively and not letting them get in the end zone. Even though they were moving the football, they could never get in the end zone. They had to settle for field goals. Meanwhile, the Bears did something that they hadn't done all season long. They stayed clean on the offensive side. Since week 1, they haven't done it, I should say. And the 2 wins, and this isn't a coincidence, I don't think. In their 2 wins, they have no turnovers, and they've been able to force turnovers and do things to affect the game defensively and on special teams. In the losses, they've turned it over a ton, and they haven't done enough to win those games. So I think the correlation is there. Don't turn it over with this defense and this special teams, and you'll have a shot. And they got it done 24-18. They're now back to 500 on the season, are the Bears. And they got a chance to win a few games here now. If they can, if they can follow the rules, they can win some games here. Rams, look, they're lucky to not be 0-4 right now, to be honest with you. They had no business beating San Francisco. So to be 1-3 right now and to be as competitive as they've been without their best receivers is just a testament to Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford and their ability to be, to compete at a high level. But they just don't have enough. They just don't have enough right now. Patriots at the 49ers. This one felt like a, mismatch, and it was. The pick 6 by Fred Warner in this game really started the avalanche. That made it 13-0. Then George Kittle went straight full Moss mode on the Patriots. It was 3 Patriot defenders, and George Kittle put his nutsack on their helmets and went and got the football. It was incredible. That made it 20-0. And at that point, you said, New England, there's no way in hell the Patriots are scoring 20 points. If they were going to win this game, they were going to win this game 16-13, 16-10, 19-16, 20-16. They weren't winning this game 33-30, right? So once they got to 20, this game was over. And so this thing was never really close. I just was like, why are you letting them hang around? Because it was 20-10 at one point. Like, why are you even letting them feel like they got a shot? Just put them out of their misery. And eventually they did the 49ers. Brock Purdy, not his best performance, 15-27, 288, touchdown and interception. But he just continues to be really solid. Jordan Mason I don't think his name is Jordan. What's his first name? Hey, it is Jordan. Hey, look at that. Jordan Mason continues to be a stud, man. 24 carries, 123 yards, and a touchdown. He's filling in quite nicely. But then again, it's the Shanahan's offense. What did you expect? Like, seriously, right? So this was a much needed game for the 49ers. coming off of that gut-wrenching loss a week ago to the Rams. You needed a bounce back, and this is the perfect opponent. This almost felt handpicked. They took advantage. They're now 2-2, and the Patriots continue to mosey along and head to that collision course of that point of the season when they realize, what are we doing? Let's put in Drake May. So we're now on Drake May watch. They're 1-3. Season's going south. They're not going to win. I told you, I don't think they're going to win another game until like week 8 or 9, right? They'll be 1-7 before they have another shot to win a game. And so I think there's Jacksonville in there. Maybe they can beat Jacksonville. We'll see. But they'll be 1-7, 1-8. And at that point, what are we doing, right? What are we doing here? Let's just put the young fella in and see what we got. Let's get that party started. So we'll get to that point here shortly. Browns, Raiders. This was a crazy game because it started out like, and I picked the Browns. So I was like, come on, Cleveland. Don't piss me off. And they started out 10-0, and they're rolling, and I'm like, hell yeah, right? And then all of a sudden, they can't get right. Raiders start building some momentum, and before you know it, it's 10-10 at half. And I'm like, God damn, it was just 10-0. What y'all doing? And then the Raiders scored 20 unanswered points, right? It went from 10-0 to 20 to 10. And I'm like, come on, guys. You're better than this. No, they're not. But I was trying to instill confidence in them because I picked them. Anyway, they got back in this game 20-16 at the Browns, and they were hosed out of an opportunity to win this game. I'm not saying that they would have won had the officials not called a phantom holding call that negated like a 65-yard touchdown pass from Watson to I want to say it was Amari Cooper, but it was a phantom holding call, and I really think they would have won the game 23-20. Now, Raiders could have gotten in the field goal range, tied it up. Anything could have happened. But it felt like the way this game was going, that they were going to get the defensive stops necessary to hold on and win this game 23-20. And they never got that opportunity because they were robbed of that opportunity with a phantom call. Now, the Browns did stupid shit too. Watson threw a pass right to Amari Cooper, hit him right in the number 2, and it bounced off of his chest in the air, and it got picked off by Trayvon Merrick. And you're like, really, guy? Hey, do that shit this week against the Commanders, please. All right? Don't catch it. Have it bounce off your chest plate and get picked off, please. They can't get out of their own way. But if you're the Raiders, this is the exact type of performance that is going to get you to 7-8 wins this season, keep you out of the position to draft a quarterback that's worth a damn, and you're going to have to either trade up to get a quarterback, or you're going to be kind of stuck in the middle of no man's land because you're not making the playoffs, but you're not bad enough to get the kind of quarterback that's going to change the fortunes of your franchise. So it's a tough place to be, but they're 2-2. As a fan, when you're in it, you're not thinking about a quarterback next year. You're thinking about how can we find a way to win enough games to play bonus football. But they won this game without Max Crosby, without Devontae Adams, right? That's a big win if you're the Raiders. That's a big win. And another tough one for the Browns. They're now 1-3. And Devontae Adams obviously requested a trade after the game. Chargers and Chiefs. Wow. Lot to unpack here. Same thing happened in this game. Chargers jump out to a 10-0 lead. They're at home. They're feeling good. They're like, yeah, we got these bastards. The Chiefs lose wide receiver Rashid Rice early in the game on an interception. You're thinking, man, they're in trouble. And they just start to chip away and chip away and chip away. And next thing you know, they end up taking the lead in the fourth quarter, 17-10, and they win the game by that final score. It wasn't pretty. It was gritty. And most importantly, it was a dub. I've talked about this with this Chiefs football team. They just know how to win. And this is another example of that in this game. Mahomes, 19 of 29, a touchdown and an interception. It was not clean by any stretch of the imagination. Kareem Hunt made his Chiefs 2024 debut. He had 14 carries for 69 yards, but they really didn't have the type of balance that you would like to see from a Chiefs offense when you're on the road in that environment and you know you're going to have to play the type of football that is going to allow you to win. But ultimately, Travis Kelce came to life. This was the first game where he looked like Travis Kelce. They needed him. I mean, who else were they going to throw the football to? There was no Rashee Rice for pretty much the entire game. So Kelce had to step up. Xavier Worthy made his first real appearance since week 1 when he burst onto the NFL landscape. Everybody was going goo goo gaga, and then he went to sleep the next 2 weeks. He made a big catch. They were dead in the water, it felt like, at 10-0. And then Worthy catches this bomb from 54 yards out. And just like that, the Chiefs were back in the game. And ultimately, they settled in after that, and they ultimately won the game 17-10. This is how the Chiefs are going to win games until they figure out what's going to happen offensively for them. They're probably going to have to make a move here because they just don't have the horses right now with all the injuries on the offensive side. And this is how the Chargers are going to win games, right? I told you, I said this in week 1 when they beat the Raiders 22-10. I'm like, this isn't pretty, right? But that's not how they're going to win games with Jim Harbaugh, right? They won the game in week 2 against Carolina, and they ran the football down their throats and won 24-3 or something like that. I'm like, this is how they're going to win. And if they can't run the football effectively, they're not going to win very many games right now because Herbert's not healthy, 1. And 2, that's just not how they're set up to operate. They have to run the football to be effective. Herbert was 16-27 for 179 yards. It's just the offense he's in. It's not going to show him in a favorable light. The Greg Roman offense is not great for a quarterback. It's not. It's great for the running backs and the tight ends. So they couldn't run the ball. J.K. Dobbins, 14 carries, 32 yards. Gus Edwards, 6 carries, 19 yards. If they can't run the ball, they can't be effective with how they're set up. So it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to do and if they can open this offense up a bit. I will tell you this, Ladd McConkey looks really good. 5 catches, 67 yards. He was the one guy that felt like he could make something happen. He could shake and get open and give him a chance to have some big plays. But the Chargers, they're going to probably be very frustrating this year to their fan base because they're not going to score very many points. I'm going to tell you that right now. And the Chiefs, they're 4-0, man. It hasn't been pretty, right? But you look up, they got 4 one-scored victories on the season, and they're 4-0. What are you going to do about it? At some point, that magic pixie dust that they have is going to run out because they're running out of bodies here. They're running out of healthy bodies, and guys that are impact players are dropping by the wayside. Last game on the slate. Save the best for last. Commanders at the Cardinals. Commanders get it done 42-14. I won't talk your head off. My channel is full of videos talking about this game, but I can't stop smiling. I mean, what a performance by the Commanders in this game. They go to Arizona, dismantle the Cardinals 42-14. It's the first time the Commanders have scored 40 plus in a game since 2020 when they beat the Cowboys 41-16 on Thanksgiving. And it's the first time since 1991 that they've scored 38 points or more in back-to-back games. 80 points in the last 2 contests for these Commanders. They've been outstanding. The big story here is their defense. They were able to not only get stops defensively, create a turnover defensively, get to the quarterback defensively. This was the first time that they didn't give up 20-plus points in the game this season. I mean, well, I tell a story. They didn't give up 20-plus to the Giants. They gave up 18 in that game. But still, this was a legitimate defensive performance for the first time this year. And so Jaden Daniels continues to be on that tear that I talked about earlier. I don't need to continue to harp on that. But he accounted for another 4 touchdowns in this game, 1 passing, 1 rushing. He accounted for 2 more touchdowns in this game, 1 rushing, 1 passing. Jeremy McNichols jumped in the fray with Austin Eckler out. He had 2 touchdowns rushing. Brian Robinson goes over 100 yards rushing for the second time this season. It was a total team effort by the Commanders as they go to Arizona, destroy the Cardinals, get to 3-1. That's 3 wins in a row. And now they go home for the first time in a couple of weeks to take on the Cleveland Browns. If you're the Arizona Cardinals, This was a really disappointing performance. After losing last week to the Detroit Lions in a game that you were in the entire time, you felt really good about having a chance to bounce back at home against Washington. And you started out the game, touchdown, fourth down conversion, great throw by Kyler Murray to MHJ, and you're off and running at 7-0. And your defense promptly gave up a touchdown to allow the game to be tied. And from that point forward, it was really downhill from there. The Commanders scored 27 unanswered points. Were up 27-7 before the Cardinals scored again in the game, and the rest is history. Cardinals are now 1-3, and I think they're heading to San Francisco, if I'm not mistaken, this week. Yes, they are, and that's not good. So that is your Sunday slate of games. Let's get to garbage time. And garbage time is going to be your comments. Let's talk about what you want to talk about. And we start with my guy, Gregory Chimenti. Thank you for the super chat. Greg, greatly appreciate you. My guy, Greg, writes, speaking of baseball, we all need to have a moment of silence to laugh at these bum-ass trash can Astros. Just lost to Detroit. Haven't been shit since they cheated. I was shocked that they got swept up like that. Like, I wasn't shocked that Detroit went in there and beat them, because anything's possible in a 3-game set, and I've talked about it. Baseball is one of those sports that you get hot pitching, and that's what it's about. Postseason baseball is about pitching, not about bats. It's great if you can, score some runs. You can scratch across some runs. You can hit the long ball. That's all great, fine, and dandy. But postseason baseball is all about pitching. And Detroit went in there and shut their bats down, pitched their asses off, and won 2 straight. I was just shocked they did it in short order. Boom, boom, bam. Thank you, ma'am. God bless and good night. Drive home safe. And Detroit's now moving on to the divisional series. Really shocked that it happened in that way. But yes, the Astros, a lot of people weren't happy about the whole cheating scandal. And you're right, they haven't won. I think they'd have won since then, though, right? I thought they won maybe like 2 years after that. And that kind of gave them a little validation. I thought. I could be wrong, but thought they won since then. But I could be wrong. Christopher McLaughlin, my guy, Chris. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, my guy. Or excuse me. Thank you, CMAC, for your very generous contribution and your unwavering support. Really do appreciate you, my guy. Chris writes, hey, Lou, hope all is well with you and the family. Likewise, as always, Chris. 3 questions. 1, who is the best backup quarterback in the league now and why? 2, do you think Tyreek Hill made a mistake going to Miami instead of staying in Kansas City, and why? And 3, what are your thoughts on Karl Anthony Towns going to the Knicks and why? Okay. Best backup in the league, I've already said who it was. It's Joe Flacco, to me. I don't think there's a quarterback better suited to step in and give you a chance to win. Andy Dalton's pretty good too, right? There's some guys that have been starters in this league for many years, but Joe Flacco's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Put together one of the best postseason runs we've ever seen. I love Joe Flacco, and he's capable of making any throw and winning you any ball game. We saw him take the Cleveland Browns to the playoffs last year, and he's still capable. And I'm telling you, he was dealing against the Steelers. You go watch that game, and you're like, bro, I don't think they win that game if Anthony Richardson's in there. I could be wrong, and Richardson could have been dealing. And he could have been running and making plays with his legs and all that good stuff. But there were some throws in there, some completions where you go, yo, Flacco is in his bag. And I'm still shocked that the rest of the league decided, I'm good on Joe Flacco and let him go to Indy. I would have been, after what he did, man won comeback player of the year last year. After what he turned in with Cleveland, I would have been like, yo, we think we can win the Super Bowl. Let's go get Joe Flacco. Just in case something happens to our quarterback for 2 to 4 weeks, we got Flacco, man. We're fine. No, I don't think Tyreek Hill made a mistake leaving Kansas City. He had already won a Super Bowl. He wanted to make his money. Once you've already won, all bets are off. Go get your bread. While it's there to be got, go get your money. He went to Miami. He's from that area, so he got to be closer to home. No, there's no regrets. If Tua is still healthy, this man was a part of the best offense in the NFL last year. He almost received for 2,000 yards last season. He was on pace to do it before having a slow finish to the season. No, there's no regrets. It is what it is. He made a decision, and I wouldn't regret it if I were him. I think it was a good decision. He had already won in Kansas City. Now he needed to go get paid. They were willing to break him off, make him the highest paid receiver in the NFL. And he was making noise up until Tua got injured. He was making noise. So what are my thoughts on Karl Anthony Towns getting traded to the Knicks? Let's talk about it. Somebody asked me about it, and I said I was going to talk about it on the podcast, and I totally forgot. So I'm glad that you brought it up. So I think it's a good move because I didn't think Julius Randle was a great fit in New York. And I think they found out, and I think you guys remember me saying this, him not playing, I think they found out we don't need him. Now, we need somebody in his place. We still don't have enough firepower without him, but we don't need him exactly. He pouts when he doesn't get the basketball. While he can be a double-double machine, get you a bunch of boards, he can also be a liability at times. He's very streaky. He doesn't stop shooting, even though he's not shooting it well. Now you've traded him for one of the best big man three-point shooters in NBA history. Cat is unselfish because, look, I told you he's a low IQ basketball player. That's the one thing I don't like about Karl Anthony Towns is he fouls too much. He's not smart about the things that he does, but he's a very skilled basketball player. When he's locked in, he can carry a team, take over a game, and he stretches the floor, which is what the Knicks need from their big, a guy that can stretch the floor, open up the floor for a guy like Jalen Brunson. They've got shooters everywhere now. They can play 5-out offense with Karl Anthony Towns. Now, again, Karl Anthony Towns isn't protecting the rim. And I guess you might love Jericho Sims if you're the Knicks. We'll see. But obviously, Mitchell isn't going to be back anytime soon. Don't know when he's going to be healthy again. You don't have Isaiah Hartenstein anymore. So who's protecting the rim? Because Karl Anthony Towns most certainly isn't doing that. So, especially without fouling. So I think that's something else to ask yourself. But I like the trade. I hate that they had to give up Dante DiVincenzo to do it because he was your best three-point shooter. But you did acquire Mikal Bridges, who's a pretty good three-point shooter in his own right. And now that he doesn't have to be an all-world player, he can just be a 3-and-D guy, which is what he's really designed to do. I think the Knicks are a really good team. Does this make them the best team in the East? No. But does it make them highly competitive? Absolutely. Are they better than the 76ers? Not sure about that. Are they better than the Celtics? No. I know that for a fact. No, they're not. So does it give them a shot? Yeah. And I like the move because Julius Randle, I think it's an upgrade over Randle. I'll tell you that right now. I think it's an upgrade over Julius Randle. And the Knicks are going for it. They're going for it. And I like it. I like it a lot. In a league where you got to go for it, they're going for it. So we'll see how it turns out for him. Gregory Chiminti, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. He writes, for as well as JD has played, got to give a lot of credit to your O-line. They've looked good even with the horror show that is Bobby Johnson. How about you give some credit to O-line Bobby Johnson? How about you do that? As much as you want him to suck and you to go, I told you he was trash because you guys were trash while he was there. You ever stop to think that maybe the players that he was coaching were trash? Just a thought. I mean, you've revamped that entire offensive line essentially since he's left. If it were him, you would have kept the offensive lineman and just gotten a new offensive line coach. But you revamped that entire offensive line. Yeah, we're giving a lot of credit to the offensive line. They're playing well. But that's just a small part of it. They're playing well. The play calling has been outstanding. Jaden Daniels' legs are magnificent, and the run game has been incredible. So all of these things have taken pressure off of the O-line. But how about you give some credit to O-line Bobby Johnson too, right? Like, they're not playing well in spite of O-line Bobby Johnson. Maybe, just maybe, this is a thought, Gregory, just maybe they're playing well because of O-line Bobby Johnson. You ever thought about that? You ever stop to think maybe he is a part of the reason that they're playing well this year? Just a thought, man. You do the dishes, though. Just a little food for thought. You do the dishes. Silver V, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Silver V, writes, let me tell you, Lou, the feeling of ecstasy mixed with disbelief while watching your quarterback is awesome. Reminds me of Mahomes' first season. Embrace it in the moment, bro. It's no fluke. Y'all got a real chance to win big. This is coming from a Chiefs fan who knows what this feeling is like. Thank you for that bit of advice. I'm definitely embracing it. I'm living in the moment. I'm trying to express that to the fan base. And I appreciate you saying that. That means a lot, because I think there's still a lot of fans out there that need to hear that message. And hearing it from me isn't going to move the needle as much as hearing it from someone like yourself, who has been through this process, has the best quarterback in football, and knows that if you see it immediately, you know it, and it has a chance to turn into something otherworldly. So I think that I appreciate you for saying that, Silver V. I appreciate you. So I think the rest of the Commanders fans need to hear that. I think they need to hear that. I'm aware and I'm living in the moment, but I think they need to hear that. So I appreciate you for saying it. P for Nupin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. P for Nupin writes, nah, forget things going south for the Eagles. I want them 6 feet under. You and me both. Like, but you got to understand, they're not a bad team. You know, their defense might suck, but they're good offensively. I don't love their staff, their coaching staff. And I really think that they're being poorly coached on the offensive side. I think their head coach is a clown, but they've got enough offensive talent to overcome some of the shortcomings of their offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore. And I think they have enough talent to overcome some of the shortcomings of their head coach. So when it's all said and done, as much as I would like to see their season tank and them go sideways and like you said, not go south, go 6 feet under. And I'd love to have the shovel by week, 10 or 11. I think it's a week 11 when we play them on Thursday night. I'd love to have the shovel. I'd love to bury them in their own building. Hey, don't even leave home. Dress in all black, put your Sunday's best on, and I'd love to do it on a national stage in front of America for everybody to see. I'd love nothing more than to have that opportunity, but I just don't see it happening. I just don't see it happening. Their schedule isn't Dallas's schedule. Their schedule is very doable. The thing you have to ask yourself is, defensively, they've got some teams that can score on the schedule. Can they outscore Cincinnati in Cincinnati like we did? Assuming that the Bengals are still healthy then, right? We'll see. But at the end of the day, I think they're going to turn things around, win some games, and we'll have to fight them for the division. We'll have to fight them for the division. Christopher McLaughlin, my guy. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, hey, Lou, 3 questions. 1, who do you think will be the top 4 teams for the men's NCAA college football playoff, and why? Have they expanded to 12 already? I thought they already expanded to 12. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. 2 and 3. Is Jaden Daniels already a top 3 or top 5 QB in this league, or do you need to see more, and why? Nah, I can't put him in the top 5 already. I've said this. He's the best quarterback in the NFC. But, the AFC got about 6-7 dudes that are elite on that side of the bracket. Allen and Burrow and Mahomes, Jackson, and all of those dudes. That's 4 right there, right? So, no, I can't elevate him over all of those quarterbacks. Stroud, I can't put him he's only played 4 games. But I can put him over the NFC because we don't have that kind of talent on our side. It's Jordan Love, it's Brock Purdy, it's Jalen Hurts. Yeah, I'm putting him over all them dudes. Hell yeah. But yeah, I need to see more. Of course, I need to see more. But I'm bullish on him for sure. You can't tell me nothing about my quarterback without question. Top 4 teams in college football. Wow. I so don't want to believe in Alabama. I don't. But they just beat Georgia. That stands for something. I like Tennessee a lot, but they're going to have to play Georgia at some point, and that might not end well for them. But man, Texas is good, but I think they're beatable. Arch Manning looks good. But Texas is in the SEC. That no more of that Big 12 shit. They're gonna have to prove it. I don't know. I can't tell you, man. This college football season is gonna be insane because all the teams that I like are SEC teams. They're gonna play each other, which means they're gonna knock each other off, which means you can't be in the top 4 of the college football playoffs. But I like Tennessee right now. I like Bama right now. Georgia's not gonna go away. Love Texas right now. They're really good. That's 4 right there. They're all in the SEC though. And at some point, they're all going to crash into each other. So I don't really know how this is going to go. Ole Miss just dropped the ball this past weekend, losing. And I wanted, you know what? I'm going to talk to y'all about that because I watched some crazy games. The Miami, Virginia Tech game and then the Alabama, Georgia game were wild. And I watched the finish to both of them. Wild. So we'll talk about that on tomorrow's podcast for sure. John Perez, my guy, JP. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, JP, writes, Lou, can I ask you about Adams for a second? I don't know if we get him, but a Terry duo would be nice. Plus, what would he look like in Kingsbury's offense? I'm not talking about that here. I'm going to talk about him on the show tonight. I'm not going to talk about it right now. I got a lot to say about that. I'm going to talk about it tonight. You already know my stance, though. I've already made it abundantly clear. I want nothing to do with Devontae Adams, but we'll talk about it. And we can have a open dialogue if you'd like tonight on the CNN. 9:00 tonight. So we'll talk about it. King of the Bluegrass. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. King of the Bluegrass writes, do you think the Commanders should make a trade? Not now, but I want to see where we are in 3 weeks, and then we can have that discussion because there are some positions that I think if you think they can do some damage this year and you really think, hey, why not? Why not go after it this year? Why not give it an old college try this year? Then there are some positions that could use an upgrade for sure. Right now. My guess as of right now, October 2nd, no, they don't make a trade. That's my guess. Will they inquire? Yes. Yeah. Will they actually pull the trigger? No, I don't think so. But we'll see. Plenty of time to talk about that between now and the trade deadline. King of the Bluegrass. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, go Mets, F the Braves. See, I was going to be nice to the Mets too, right? I was going to be nice. I was like, go beat the Brewers, man. Go beat the Brewers and then turn around and beat the damn Phillies. I was going to be nice to y'all. And you just messed it up. You're going to beat the Brewers anyway. But now, I just want you and the Phillies to beat the shit out of each other. And I hate the fact that you two are going to be playing one another. I wanted the Brewers, by the way, because I knew we could handle the Brewers. And we have no shot against the Fathers. We got a shot because of our pitch in these next 2 games, but you got to win one to get an opportunity to have a third. And I'm not sure the bats are going to wake up, but I was going to be nice to you. Now, F the Mets. F the Mets. I let you in the playoffs, and this is how you repay me? This is how you treat us? F us? Okay. Got something for your ass. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on the 454th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I thank you guys for joining me. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys again tomorrow. Tomorrow. I'll be here tomorrow. It's only a day away. I'll be back. Don't you go anywhere. If you're a Commanders fan, I'll see you in about an hour and a half from now. 9 o'clock. Lots to discuss. I'm going to get some dinner in my belly, listen to DQ, Jaden Daniels, check the scene, and then we'll come back and we'll chop it up and start to set the table for the week of work heading into a big game. Like, who are we kidding? Every game is a big game on the schedule for the Commanders here on out. If you think we got a chance to be good, then you got to win, especially games like the one coming up on Sunday. So we will turn our attention there next. Anyway, I digress. P. Fanupin, did you really think I was serious when I just was talking to King of the Bluegrass? Did you think I was serious? Man, I don't know. You couldn't tell I was joking? No? Not just a little bit? Okay. Anyway, I digress. Y'all get out of here. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and hopefully I'll see you later. If not, hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. If not, hopefully I'll see you the day after that. If not, hopefully I'll see you for Thursday Night Football. Hopefully I'll see you sometime in the near future. Whatever the case may be. God bless, and good night.